We have Vineet Shah, General Manager from Madison Digital, joining us as the session chair. Give it up once again, ladies and gentlemen, for Vineet Shah as he joins us over here. Thank you so much. We'll be having Ashish Pawar, Head Marketing Tata Asset Management, alongside Ashok Shinde, Vice President Media and Strategy Pivot Roots, a Havas company, and Yatin Balyan, Managing Partner Media Investments, Omnicom Media Group, India as well. Give it up for all of them. And we were also supposed to have Mr. Varun Mohan over here with us, who's the head Growth and Revenue India from MIQ, but unfortunately, due to a medical emergency, he's unable to join us. So we'll, of course, have our best wishes for him as well on that note. And we request you all to take it forward from here. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Shabu. So welcome aboard. I've got like a panel which I look up to and I've worked with as well. To all the audiences over here, feel free to also ask questions. We would keep it quite fluid that ways. So welcome aboard on the panel where we are discussing the role of connected TV, the role of programmatic buys, keeping in mind the festive and how the strategies would be like. So, these two topics, being a digital marketer, are very close to our heart because that's where you've gone to a bottom funnel with a programmatic buys. At the same time, a connected TV has also helped you to reach out top of the funnel, the NCCS A-ish audiences as well. So would love to also hear from the co-panelists that are there with me. So my first question is for Yatin. We would love to understand that how we can leverage, what are the insights we can leverage from connected TV on a real-time basis in terms of the real-time data about the consumer insights. How would you look at it to help you in a festive strategy?
I guess the CTV is the most conversion-driving topic, right? So from a CTV standpoint, the data signals from a consumer insights and live data, right? From CTV, advertisers and agencies can refine their targeting strategies to reach out to specific audience more effectively. Also the point, the approach optimization can be optimized at real time to maximize or optimize performance during festive. Also from the advanced buyers or advertisers and agencies where the CTV capability in terms of automated content recognition, which builds various performance scenarios across whenever the campaign is there. Just to give a little more into this ACR capability, it's build audience cohort basis the content consumption on screen, tying back to the festive. If the consumption on the content is specific to around recipes during festive, travel plans, we have earlier the speaker in terms of if the people are planning travel or vacation, the audience cohorts can be built into to far more segments where we have opportunity to reach down more effectively, where the brand recall will be higher. Also, to just add on, the CTV capability offers a kind of build campaigns basis reach and frequency, incrementality over reach basis, the linear TV or the content which get consumed on linear channels on connected TV. Also more from the impact standpoint, where the impact is also in terms of static impact, creating large formats on the connected screens, which has, we have seen across categories adding more delta to various outcomes. And more importantly, the conversation last 2 years about realizing the impact of digital impact in terms of property association, be it sports or even non-sports. Either it's digital first properties or in association with a normal broadcaster television. So I guess all these parameters enable us to arrive at a connected TV approach to advertisers.
So the takeaways for me, Yatin, would be how the cohortization happen on a real-time data basis. And then on top of it, how do you leverage that using impact mediums like sports and other content pieces which are there? My question to Ashish should be, being an advertiser and also into a finance domain, how would you look at a connected TV helping you in your entire funnel?
So I think it's a wonderful question. So I will first start with, you really need to understand the audience. And I'll tell you, just to give you an example, I'll explain with an example. We faced a similar challenge during the current World Cup. I had to decide between, because of the limited budgets which we had to decide between a particular type of TV, linear or CTV. But first, before starting that, we did understand where is the audience. Audience mapping is very important. What are they consuming? What are their habits? So you need to understand the audience. And what we figured out out of the research is, they are, the CTV which has been consumed by them is much more. So in metros and mini metros, which we have seen, and we get business out of the A cities, B cities, and C cities also, but the major is from the top tier cities which are there. So we figured out CTV as a medium is really good for us, and hence we went with it. So I would not say this a particular medium is better than other. What you need to look at is audience size, what you are looking at, what is the consumption pattern, and then go and then select a particular media. So both coexist. Of course, if you have more money, you can always go and there are packages which are in CTV also. You have fragmented, which you were saying. We can have particular cities if you want to target like a Delhi, Bombay, or in a linear TV if you want to do an HD versus a non-HD thing. So we can do that. So I think it's a mix of both, which I can say, but depending on where your audience is.
So in fact, Ashish, you've actually also somewhere connected the second question that I would love to ask is, how do you look at a linear TV today and a CTV coexist? And also primarily, what are the fundamentals that you will use to determine that which medium is adding incremental to the other medium? So how would you do it in your current media planning, for the brand?
This also depends upon the business challenge which you have. Okay, so we have a concept of investor awareness. Now, if I want to create more awareness, the answer is very clear. I need to get into a linear TV because linear TV allows me a bigger reach. For example, an HD will allow me a reach of 250 million, which is there, while a CT will give me a reach of 75-80 million approximately, which has been quoted, and the numbers go up and down at both the ends. But depending on what is my agenda. Now, for example, when we are doing an investor awareness campaign, we would like to go with an HD plus CTV plan. But if it's a very product focus or depending on the product is for a niche audience, we'll go with that. So that's my limited point which I would like to make.
No, fair, Ashish. In fact, I closely work with a CPG brand, and the way we go about it is we have a NCCSA addressing product. It's largely in top tier 1 and the metros. And we've seen CTV adoption successfully helping us also get an uptake on the brand mind measures as well as the offtake. So it's very subjective, but yeah, we've seen CTV also in a certain zone playing up really well.
Just to add further to this
Sure.
point, right? See, the way we approach any media brand, right? So it's nothing to do about, conversation not about whether linear TV or CTV, this, that versus this, or they exist independently or coexist, right? It's about how we build a audio-visual plan which delivers campaign objective and business objective. And there are three key considerations for us predominantly, which Ashish explained. Number one, what the market, what you're trying to reach. Number two, what the audience is, what you are looking. And third, what is our communication strategy for these market and the audiences. So it's a combination going back to 5-6 years or even earlier in terms of every genre in the TV plan has a role to play. For example, if you're looking for a pan-India advertiser, okay, and having a right mix of mass as well as affluent audiences, the combination will be in terms of driving reach along with being on linear TV, adding a layer of another audiovisual CTV to having more personalized communication with the affluent audiences. Another part, which is only a very affluent advertiser, luxury-based client, where the role of channels from a linear TV drops down to building only reach, while predominantly heavy lifting is done by the CTV. However, also the fact is how you build the communication for both linear TV and CTV becomes important. Either it's a cohesive communication strategy for both, or differentiated basis the requirement of the audiences and medium at that particular time.
Sure.
I'll just add one point. I think when it comes to deciding between the two, or probably understanding where the brand should invest more, I think, as rightly said, it's combination of audience, markets, and maybe objective, what you're looking to really fetch from it. If you look at connected TV, it sits on certain advantages, yeah? But it has its own, let's say, maybe challenges that it needs to come over for it. One such great thing is connected TV is often represented by people who are also cord shaver and cord cutter. If the brand whole philosophy is then to maximize their reach, then a connected TV becomes an extremely important component in that case. As Yatin mentioned, if it's more about look at reaching to a more affluent, or if your brand caters to a digital first audience, maybe connected TV again becomes a really important placement to have, or surface that you must be present for it. But contrarily, if you're looking at a mass brand, they need to maximize maybe TV or maybe regional avenues first before they could probably look at connected TV for it. So it will be a combination of multiple factors, but I think it's broadly about your audience, whom do you, and how well do you understand, and what are their consumption habits, and you want to dial up that surface more than others.
Absolutely well put up by Ashok and Yatin. It is actually horses for courses. However, there is connected TV, which has also become possibly a good alternative to have a personalized communication. But again, in a restricted TG, and obviously in few years coming down the line, we can see that going as well. I have a question for you, Ashok. This is largely on the lines of programmatic being now powered with evolved AI engines. How would you look at having personalized and engaging communication for consumers during Festive? How would you look at those inputs coming in and then translating that to a customized messaging?
So if you look at it, the whole control that connected TV allows is a lot of levers in terms of maybe the markets that you want to really go after and target user for, their preferences in terms of maybe the either content consumption, or by virtue, if you're looking to advertise within a walled garden such as Google, they know a lot more about the user current preferences and need. And we could probably look to target those specific users. Let's say if a user having a high sports affinity, even though he could be consuming a content on the screen, which could be about maybe comedy, but somewhere actually his affinity is much higher for sports, and the ad that is being run for that user could be more about a sports element involved in, versus maybe having to have a content for comedy as an input for it. So programmatically, it's possible, and brands are leveraging it, and I think that's just opens up the door for us to how can we really, such a large screen and such an attentive audience, how can we look to personalize the brand communication to next level to drive next best action from the users.
Also,
Yes,
just
Yatin.
to add to what Ashok is saying, it's programmatically, the ad content can be customized to kind of make it more relevant and engaging during Festive, or vice versa throughout the year, right? Also, the point is now the zero-party data, right, which is the information insights on device IDs, your content consumption, genre preference, or language, which is now scaled enough to use as a basic proxies to create customized ad content for the viewer.
No, absolutely fair. And for Ashish, how do you go about this? Considering you also have a good chunk of first-party data, while you would use it in a very diligent manner, but how you also create the personalization?
So we have a lot of first-party data, but we have a lot of regulations with it. So, we need to be very compliant with that. So that's one. But see, it's cohorting. So I think it's in today's age and world, you need to talk to, if I'm talking to you, I need to speak to you in the language which you want, in the interest which you want. And if I'm talking to him, Ashok, I would need to speak to his language and what he likes. So for example, so we have a lot of cohorts and segments which we have already created at our end. And what we do is we do personalized messaging. I'll just give you an example. So we have cohorts. So the day before yesterday, yesterday only the markets went down. But we have segments where we figured out people who are interested in investing when markets went down. So based on our prior data, we have sent out triggered communications through different channels to them saying that, this is the good time to invest sort of stuff. So you really need to understand the events, the behavior. So it's about once you have your customers, you need to track their actions, basis their actions, record their actions, and analyze that, and then provide the content or the creative which is there, or the messaging which I call.
So I guess what I take away from you, Ashish, as the used cases, while all these mediums would always be there at your disposal, but how contextually you can tie that up and how you can personalize this where you are hitting the nail.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's very important in today's world. You have to be contextual. You have to be relevant, because if you see all these new age consumers which are there, and a lot of people who are sitting in, what's in it? What's in it for them? So we need to, really talk to them in the language which they want, and which really interests them.
I'm just thinking, let's say, for a use case like what you just mentioned, on Google, sorry, I'm not here to advocate Google, but just saying that, one could look at actually having an affinity of users who is avid investor and maybe go after them on the day that happens. You don't have to plan your campaign maybe in a month in advance. You probably could be doing it maybe just within an hour's time for it. So could be a great possibility for us to explore and collaborate.
I think, yes, he's right. And not only first party, I think the different brands which are there, right, from social media apps and all, they all have the created segments which is called in-market data. And this is for us. So people who are interested in your category, they have their segments which are there, and they allow you to target them.
I guess all these signals that the larger platforms today are collecting are quite robust to actually tell you that you need to speak with this user in this manner, rather than you thinking traditionally that everybody you can speak in a certain language only. So I guess that's the power of AI and the algorithm. Now again, a question for Ashok, in terms of how do you look at the entire AI-led predictive analysis, keeping in mind the media trends and the consumer trends during Festive, because you would see a lot of advertisers coming on board during Festive, and there's a lot of clutter, the inflations would happen. Consumers also would then spend limited time. So how do you use predictive modeling, for your campaigns and decide what should be a further course?
So honestly, it's in a lot in the hands of the walled garden that currently they hold so much of data. They know about, let's say, often I think they're probably able to understand before a person can know what he wants. Maybe the algorithm has already figured out what he's about to get to, and they're presenting the ads for the user for it. So maybe you could be starting to look at maybe maybe a bike, and probably they will actually show you maybe a 350cc bike eventually, and maybe that could be a consideration looking at maybe if you're NCCS A or B, probably they already have figured out what bike will probably suit for you for it. So I think it's a lot to do with amount of and wealth of data that these walled gardens has, and they are able to really bring this to the tool advantage to advertiser to leverage it. As Ashish was mentioning, there are cohorts which are in market. Yeah? So you don't really have to go about figuring out, is it my demographic, is it my market, is it my these behaviors? You already have that. You just activate and go with it. Obviously, there's not much lot of input you can give it to it, but it's already working behind the scene for it. It's also going to be experimentation for it. So if I do ask for Festive, you may, rather, if it's going to be competitive, a lot of people will be just opening their wallet, they want to spend, then again market share. You would want to probably go after your core audience that you know is your P0, not even P1, a priority, not priority one, just P0 audience that you want to really go after for it. And it could be maybe the in-market audience, or it could be demographically or geographically defined. And invest on that and stay focused on it rather than actually being everywhere, and you probably not going to be difficult to be able to compete with people having or brands having a larger watch list.
And Yatin, how do you go about it?
See, the AI and machine learning, analyzes vast amount of data, and they can throw up consumer insights and data in terms of that can be in line with consumer sentiments during Festive, right? This is the conversation we are doing. For example, at OMG, we have a proprietary tool, which is your activation AI, which essentially what it does is optimize bids and budgets seamlessly across platforms, which is integrated with the AI module, which not only optimize bid and budgets, at the same time connects a dot between competition and various categories seamlessly through more relevant data, what I will explain, and more importantly, identifies hidden cohorts of audiences which otherwise is not able to do by a manual optimization. Let me give you an example. There's one category of advertiser on QSR, which is your quick service restaurant, right? So this AI thrown us audience cohort of fitness freaks, right, which are far engaging on weekends, okay, and engaging and placing order on the app, because weekends are the cheat days for the fitness freaks. And here's why we could identify the delta in terms of media KPIs and the business outcomes was substantial. So it helps us to plan better, faster, at a real-time basis, and give insights which otherwise we'll miss by a normal manual optimization.
Well, absolutely. I guess the place where humans would stop thinking or possibly would restrict is where AI then comes and kind of takes them to a different place altogether. Again, a question for Ashok, and then I would also love to hear Ashish's POV. Digital today is quite fragmented, right? And we have the key walled gardens, obviously, and then there would be other partners and publisher. But it's very difficult to have a handshake of data or say a first party data or even data signals for that matter between these walled gardens. Now, as an advertiser and a marketer, I would love to see a single view of my consumer across the platforms, right? But it's a challenge that we all are trying to solve. Ashok, what as per you is, how would you look at it when you're suggesting the brands that you work with that, okay, this is these are the challenges, but this is how we look at this consumer across the platforms, and then how I can have a consistent messaging for this person across?
Sure, I think, there are the multiple surfaces that exist today. Yeah, let's say you have your phone, you have your TV screens, you have your laptops and so. And within these, you have multiple, avenues where people are engaging. You have multiple apps. You probably have multiple placements within a connected TV, if you were to think about it. So when it comes to unification of, let's say, our media planning, what we're looking to recommend to brands is how can you, identify one common, data provider which can ingest data into, let's say, your multiple media platforms, whether that's, let's say, Google, whether that's Meta, or whether that's, let's say, could be, a technology partner, someone like MIQ. And then they commonly activating these audiences across multiple surfaces. So while there's no one way to guarantee there will be a no spillover, but it's going to minimize your overlaps that have been created. You could probably be able to fundamentally say, on there's a programmatic equation, I can define my exposure to a user across multiple channels digitally and also on video by frequency capping. So, and Google, by virtue of having to be knowing you, or a lot of us, on different devices, because we sign in on, let's say, our TV screens and consuming YouTube. We are signed up on our mobile phone and consuming YouTube, probably signed up on your desktop and laptop too. So it can help minimize that and help us orchestrate in a better media planning that way for it. So again, it's possible with virtue of walled gardens, and second, it could be possibility from one consistent data activation partner that can really ingest data across these, a platform that you're looking to buy media from it.
And Ashish, what would be your take when possibly an agency comes to you and you have to kind of decide that how you look at this particular set across the digital platforms and then say, okay, this is the user that I have in mind. This is the kind of consistent messaging that I have. Or if this is the kind of sequence you want to build across the platforms, how do you go about it?
So for us, I will start with, we have heard from ages now saying data is the new oil, right? But I feel data is the new soil, because what you sow in it, you can reap better rewards out of it. So for me, what we look at it is, how can we have a unified data? So how can we have, so we have a CDP platform where, we try and put in data from all genres. For example, customer visiting our branches, if anybody is interacting in our website, somebody is calling our call center. So we are trying to fix it, and it's a, believe me, it's like a 1.5 year thing which we are trying to do it, and we have managed to do it at 80-85%, but not all data is collected at one place. So we are trying to do that first. So the first thing is make sure that your data is cleaned enough and put into the system in the right manner. Now that will only tell you, if for example, Ashok has come to your branch on this day, he has come to on a website this day, or whatever thing he has interacted with your brand on this many times. And basis that he's looking out for this bunch of product, and he's ready to interact with you on a Friday afternoon or a Monday morning 11 p.m. So these all insights, then it starts throwing it once you get that data. And you need to put AI onto it. Of course, it's just difficult. But then start bucketing in it. And then you have a right message. Then I can target him saying that he loves Instagram. So I can push ad on Instagram. If he's interacting with me and he's not again buying things, I can push him on a WhatsApp, because WhatsApp is an expensive medium. So I use those sequences for each and what has worked for it. So of course, segment it, put the right data in, and put the right messaging, and at the right time also. So that's how I use it.
So I guess it's a good point that you've got and echoed Ashok also, that how a CDP coming in picture would obviously unify it. Now what my sense is, CDP also needs a certain level of capability, a tech capability for somebody to manage. May not be everybody's, every advertiser possibly would be able to do that. So Yatin, in this case, how do you track a digital footprint of a consumer, possibly with CDP, or if there is an option without CDP as well?
See, in terms of your main, how we measure performance, right? In terms of the ecosystem, either the CDP done or in outside ecosystem, right? There are rigorous frameworks of measurement, right? From a simplistic brand lift to more complex dynamic triple M's, right? But from on a very simpler hand, the simplistic A/B testing in terms of demographics, audiences, and the communication approach, right? You can identify what works and what is not working, and identify KPIs, the result basis that. More from the complex standpoint, there are clean room solutions which measures performance, historical and current performance on back of reach frequency, engagement, and audiences. For example, during Festive, for example, we're talking, the search query can be a very good proxy to estimate demand for a particular product and brand during the period what we're talking.
Absolutely. I'll end this conversation with one question that we've not spoken about. What is that one trend that you feel will pick up in this festive season? What's that one media trend that you possibly want to pick up, or what do you think would actually make talk of the town, be talk of the town?
So, what about all about festivity, about indulgence, right? Is about more consumption, either indulgence in whatever you buy, be it automobile or be it travel, or the content consumption for that matter. While there's a universal, last year was very different, where a lot of big cricketing events were there, which not the case at this point of time, while there are smaller cricketing events. And thereby, the advertisers has to choose between how we approach plan from a reach and frequency and impact standpoint. But we realize that the significant impact will grow across television as well as CTV and OTTs, because we see, as mentioned in my earlier point, the realization of digital properties delivering impact is proven with data across categories. So I think the lot of engagement beyond live event sports across OTT and connected TV and on television, that the one trend I think will be very prominent this year.
So if I have to summarize, you're saying content is something which will take that precedence, and then brands would activate, and that is one piece that will actually come in the forefront. Ashok, what's your prediction?
See, I think with each passing year, connected TV is becoming, let's say, lot bigger in its own space, and is able to really cut across a critical mass for at least certain segments. Let's say it could be at least it might be true for today for NCCSA. Sooner or later, it will become true for maybe NCCSB when you will actually have large penetration of connected TVs eventually for it. I think it's largely what I would feel is, brands and marketers adopting unified planning on connected TV has to be a narrative, because it has a fair share of audience. Let's say by various reports, it's upwards of 35 million, could be anywhere 45 million household currently in India looking at that space. That probably could translate into, if you had to account for co-viewing, it could be 90 million users that you could probably be reaching out to for it. It's going to be in a sizable reach, and depending on which category that you represent or brand that you work for, connected TV will be must. But there are so many options on connected TVs and so many surfaces within this connected TV. You would want to do a unified planning for it. So I would probably look at more media efficiency being brought in with that perspective.
Awesome. And I believe you've spoken about 2 as a co-viewing factor? 2 as a co-viewing factor on connected TV?
Co-viewing, yeah.
Fair. That's a good view. Yes, Ashish.
For us, so here if you see the consumers which are there, what they do on Festive, they are majorly out meeting their friends, families, shopping, as he rightly said, The only thing which they carry with them is their mobile. So mobile advertising and Instagram, people have built brands on Instagram. People have started, referring, buying, a lot of things on Instagram. So I feel mobile advertising will pick up and has to pick up in something. We have seen a trend whenever we see typically long day or Friday, Saturday, Sunday coming in, we have stopped our ads on desktops and mobiles are the first medium. So we have seen that mobile advertising will be a key part. And of course, then we have to choose the apps which we want to target and what users that can come in next. But mobile advertising is what, from a psychology perspective and how they will carry the medium is what I'm looking at.
Fair. In fact, Ashish, basis the Pitch Madison report that we have, digital has already overtaken TV and become the lead medium, and obviously mobile does have a lion's share. So I'll look forward at how further it becomes, engaging but not intrusive. I'll open it up to the audiences if there are any questions. We would love to answer that too. Sure, please go ahead.
Just quickly announcing, we have time to take just 2 questions.
Sure.
Yeah.
Good evening, respected dignitaries. My question is, I understand that the brands are spending a lot of money in performance, SEO, SEM in today's date. So why do brands not go directly to these spaces? Like, for example, you have these OTTs, you have the Spotifys, you have Netflixes, you have your TV directly. Why do they come across as the mediators, agency partners who help them get this? And what is the ROI for the agency, and how does the brand, I know that the brand will generate a lead, but how do they get their ROI of revenue if they're investing in 2 spaces?
Fair. Jatin, you want to take a point?
See, more than the agency ROI is about the client ROI, right? So you talk about in various aspects, the performance, SEO, and thereby you went on to OTTs and the video content platform, right? The advertisers, depending on what stage of the cycle are, decides where the bucks are kind of deploying, right? If the initial growing stage, the SEM and research, the performance becomes paramount. When we want to grow further, which Ashish was mentioning, want to go pan-India, then the different media start coming in. I also talked about in terms of how we measure effectiveness, in terms of there are various ways we measure effectiveness, either the simplistic model of, brand lift studies, or you do more complex, advanced, dynamic triple M studies, which I briefly talked about on previous point.
Fair.
So
Yeah, please.
Was your question something different? Just want to cross-check, or did we answer that for you?
No, I just wanted to also understand the bit of how does the brand that is investing in this gets its ROI, and what is the profitability that the agency partners who are delivering this will also generate. How do they also generate the profits? Because the client is already there with the mediators doing XYZ, SEM, SEO, paid performance, whatever it is. Then we go ahead and give them this type of platform where we are doing their content, where we're generating a lot of stuff from the investment spaces, giving them the inventory. So why would they want to come and invest apart from what they're doing with us? How do they will increase their investments here? What is the ROI that they make out of the extra investment that they make? And what is the ROI that we get? Because the client is already there with us. So what is the profitability that the client and we make when we do this? How does this platform help?
Can I attempt to answer, and if I'm not wrong? So you are talking about 2 different things. First is the bottom funnel, which is your performance marketing, right? And people have to do the performance marketing because it's a cutthroat competition. If I do not bid for my keyword, somebody else will. So that's one. Now, on the other part, which is about discovery medium, where I have to create awareness, right? It's a top funnel thing. I have to create awareness. I have to go to those apps, show the advertisements, and not only to apps, different media. So I have to create awareness. Awareness will get into the consideration or engagement, and then get into the performance. So it is never either or. You have to have a balanced approach. Now, depending on the journey of it, the customer. For example, a very established brand will always go for more of a performance and less of a awareness, because it's already built a brand and people know about it. While a new age brand will spend more money on the awareness and then get into performance. So it's a mix of everything, what the brand life stage is, where the brand is, but it coexists. And now coming on to the agency, how they will earn it, it's an agency fees which they charge. That's
So this is more to do the capabilities and scope of work agency aligned with the client and advertiser, and share because of the value delivery, the expertise the agency bring on the table to execute either of the different type of campaigns from a lower funnel to upper funnel. And that's the way it's more of the commercial arrangement basis the scope of work where the advertiser and agency align at the time of the start of business.
I think I got my answer. Thank you.
Thank you for that question, and unfortunately we don't have time for more questions. But ladies and gentlemen, please give a huge round of applause to all of them over here. Thank you so much for sharing your insights. I'll request all of you to kindly pose forward for a photo together.